I told everybody here in a previous video and also in the community tab about a brutal incident that took place in Romania, a tragedy. This happened a week ago as of today. I'm filming it a week later. This is a bit triggering, so if you're going through a rough time right now, if you broke up with somebody, if somebody dear to you died, this is perhaps not the video to watch. All right? Check out my other videos. They're more lighthearted than this one. Hi, this is Liana, Holistic Intimacy Coach. Welcome back to my channel. Here, I help you get your orgasmic intimacy. So today I decided to finally speak about the tragedy that took place in Romania a week ago. But I need to give a few heads up here. First of all, I will try to I will try to not present it in such a horrendous way as it was. I'm not a true crime story channel. I'm not a crime journalist or whatever. So I'm not one of those influencers that are presenting crimes and all that. No, I'm an intimacy coach and I try to extract the constructive out of whatever's possible. So I will try to do that in this case also. Secondly, I'm also a human being. So if I fall down some, anger slopes or whatever, in all honesty, I tried filming this one twice before the previous days, but I was just too angry, too triggered. And I'm learning a new language now, Chinese. And one of my colleagues, he is 11 years older than I am, the father of 2 daughters. And when I asked him about this, he said, I can understand why you and other women in this country are so enraged. I too am, as a father of 2 daughters, when I hear about this. So yeah, I will try to do my best to be as neutral as possible, but if I seem triggered or a bit angry or enraged at some places, it's probably because it's that intense. Okay, and I apologize in advance if you find this one a lack of professionalism on my behalf. It is heavy, and I'm also a human being, so I'm not perfect. All right, so now the case. A week ago, a woman, 23-year-old, beautiful woman. Okay, we have a lot of beautiful, drop-dead, gorgeous, beautiful women here, with no pun intended. That's the English saying, okay? Drop-dead, gorgeous. So this woman was amazing looking. She was married. She had a 3-year-old daughter, which she was holding in her arms. She was walking away from a playground and heading home with another friend of hers, so a woman of the same age, or about the same age, who also had 2 kids with her. And they were walking home from the playground, and this was in the evening. The sun was still out. People were around. This was the place is called Cosmopolis. It's a place nearby Bucharest. That's the capital of Romania. It's considered a luxury neighborhood, but it had a few problems. It didn't have a police station. It doesn't have a hospital or any kind of medical facility there. So there are a few problems with the newly built residences nearby the capital of Romania. So at about 7 in the evening, they were walking on the street coming out of the playground. And as they approach a sidewalk, a man comes from behind them. And this was caught on camera, which was released. It was blurred because the event itself was horrendous. But we still saw the man walking behind them, reaching them. Then the image gets blurred, a circle right around them. And we're just told what happened. This man, who turns out to be a 49-year-old man, carrying 2 loaded weapons, got near, point blank near, to this 23-year-old woman and shot her 2 times in her belly. She carried a 5 or 6 months baby boy in her belly, so he shot her twice in the belly and once or twice somewhere else in the body. And then he walks away slowly. The cameras show him walking away slowly, going behind trees as if nothing happened. The woman is resuscitated by somebody, a bystander who was also a non-medical volunteer, so for the first aid emergency service. So he tried to do CPR on her until the ambulance arrived. The ambulance arrives, according to official records, at 5 minutes after making the call, but the woman had already died. They tried to resuscitate her, but no, so she died. Police is alerted, obviously, because the killer is on the loose. The 3-year-old girl who was next to her mother when her mother was shot dead, in shock, is taken by the police in a police car. The other woman with her kids, actually, I don't remember exactly what happened to them. Obviously, they were next to the killing, like a few inches away, also in shock. People were in shock, and when the press came to also film, because then we also saw later in that evening, we saw the footages. The journalists caught on camera various statements from bystanders. Okay, people, a lot of people and a lot of kids witnessed that. And a woman, an older woman, was caught crying somehow, so shouting, complaining, crying out, "Have we gone mad? Are we killing people on the streets now?" The shock for Romania is that this isn't common. This isn't the United States of America. We don't carry weapons here. Like, people don't randomly carry weapons unless they're into criminal activities. In order for people to carry a weapon legally, they have to have a license to carry a weapon. And people who work in the police, in the gendarmes, in the military, special forces, so there's a special category of people who are legally allowed to have a weapon, firearm, but they also have to pass an examination to carry a weapon. This guy appeared nowhere in any records that he had a license. So, yeah, how he got the 2 loaded weapons is not yet clear. Not even now, 1 week later. It takes 3 hours for the police to raid that luxury residence. People in that place are horrified. Horrified. Everybody's horrified. So the police storms through apartment buildings, stores, anything. And 3 hours later, they corner the guy in between 2 construction vans. And when they make the official summon, they hear a gunshot. And then when they go to check, this guy shot himself dead in the head. So people, at least, the trauma, the post-traumatic shock was there, but the fear that they might also die is gone. And then more information next day comes up. The man, 49-year-old, who went by the nickname Wolf, he had been in a relationship with this woman. He was 26 years older than her, and he had been in a relationship with her when he was 40 and she was 14. So at 14, just to give you some context here, our brains are still developing. Okay, our brains finish developing by the age of 25. Our personality, so in terms of maturity, develops around the age of 29, 30. At 14, you're just a child. Okay, you're not matured, you don't have the hardware developed, and you don't have the software. Okay, so the brain is not yet developed, the personality, the maturity is not yet there. So we can't really call that a consenting relationship. That was, from everybody's perspective, that was an abuse. A 40-year-old man who at the time was divorced, he had a kid from the previous marriage, was dating a 14-year-old girl. So that relationship, which apparently, as information came from the woman's family, had been abusive. The girl at the time, didn't listen to her family because her family wanted her out of that interaction. 2 years later, so when she was 16, she finally put an end to it and she left the relationship. And several years later, she got a restraining order on the guy because he kept threatening her, the family, he kept harassing her. Even with the restraining order and with the statements to police that he had threatened to harm her, nothing happened to him. He was still going free. Later information came out that the guy had been forced, because the restraining order came out, he had been forced to take a psychiatric session, and he was given a diagnosis, and he was also given pills to take. He only went to one session and he refused to take the pills. He refused to come back. On his Facebook account, which is now shut down apparently, but before, like in that day, before anybody got a chance to shut it down, journalists found the account and they started reading through the posts. He was posting some really, really triggering stuff. In that evening, people started digging into the woman's past also. Apparently her husband was away with work. Apparently she was living not with her husband, although she was married to the man and had 2 children, like one in the belly and the other one 3 years old. She was living in the home with that friend of hers. And apparently this woman had done at a certain point video chat. So a lot of people in the country started blaming her. Oh, she did video chat. Other people, including women, said she must have done something. The implication was she must have done something to deserve this. A lot of other information came out. One of them was that this woman was the 25th to die at the hands of a man, much older, either current partner, former partner, or something sexuality related anyway. The 25th of this year. The whole outrage with women saying that we're not safe, and then the memory of previous year's killings, because this isn't just this year, we've had other brutal killings in the context of relationships. So women were enraged. They started speaking about femicide, domestic violence, the fact that the police, even if you file reports, they don't support you. Women who have filed reports against their violent husbands were charged with, a penalty by the police. One woman wrote to say that after she got divorced, there were specific conditions in which their daughter could spend time with the father. At a certain point, this woman said that she refused to give the daughter for the visit because the conditions imposed by the legal order were not met. And the police fined the woman and they forced her to hand over the girl. And the next day, the girl came back home with wounds, including in her genitalia. So then she went to the police, filed a report, and then her fine was taken back, withdrawn, and the guy was then sent, he had repercussions. But the thing is, a lot of women go to the police office, and a lot of them shared how they were dissuaded by the police officers saying, come on, ma'am, maybe he was just joking. He wasn't serious. It wasn't that bad. You're okay. You're alive. He didn't do anything to you. Go back home. This is the kind of stuff when a woman comes to file a report for abuse, for harassment, for whatever, this is the kind of stuff that she's met with from the Romanian police authorities. So there's misogyny in our society, and women, victims, even after they die, they are still blamed. It is the victim's fault. A lot of women spoke about, so this guy, he married, he divorced, then he dated a child, and if that child listened to his family and finally broke away from the man, ultimately she didn't have the right to live with somebody else. That was the message, essentially. You want to live with somebody else? I'll kill you, I'll kill your children, and then I'll kill myself. Basically, that's the story here. We've had protests in the country. Some, a week later, are still happening in different cities. I was I was enraged also, obviously. It's shocking to hear that story. And it's sad to see that police where women also work, women don't believe other women. Another woman wrote on, we have a lot of people here still have Facebook, okay? TikTok is also big in our country, but Facebook is super big still in Romania. And a lot of women shared on Facebook how when they went to file reports, they were laughed at, even sometimes by their friends or acquaintances and family. Okay? So the victim is still blamed. And in another case, a woman said that she went to file a report, she wanted to, and she got the reply, until something happens to you, he's not a suspect. So if you're threatened with words, but nothing happened to you physically, you're okay, you're good to go, nothing happened. We're not going to check the guy, we're not going to record this report, nothing's going to happen until he does something bad to you, potentially kill you. That's what I'm adding. They never say that, but this is the reality on field. It's not the first, it's not the last one that's going to happen here. And I'm already in my 40s now, so I guess I'm fortunate to have made it this far without being beaten, raped. Although I did have, in a relationship, I did have abuse, including physical. So there's that also. And the statistics have come out in Romania, and 1 in 3 women here statistically have been victims of domestic violence in some form, by a family member, by an intimate partner, husband. So that does happen. Okay, it's still frequent here. And it's really, really hard to live in this environment. And for me, my work, people, when I posted on my Facebook, I actually wrote, before I give my opinion, I want to know what men think. Romanian men, what do you think about this? The fact that at 14 she had been in a relationship with this guy who was 40. The fact that afterwards he threatened her and just wouldn't take the answer. The fact that this man, a father of another child, shot an unborn baby in that woman's womb. What do you think about all these? Not many men answered. One said that it's obviously generalized misogyny in the country, and they were outraged how women also blamed the woman who died. They still believe that she was at fault. Why did she have to go with somebody if she was just 14? And although people try to reason with them, saying, just because you're 14, you don't know much, you don't listen to your family, you go with a jerk, does that mean you deserve to die? Does that mean that your unborn child deserves to die also? Does that mean that the 3-year-old girl that you hold sees, witnesses her mother's death and lives with that trauma the rest of her life? Did she deserve that? Did the girl that this man, the killer, who's still alive and she's going to live with the stigma of her dad's deeds, did she deserve that? Like, people never see that there are collateral victims here. All the friend of that woman who's near her and her children, also traumatized. Did they deserve that? The other children and other people that were around and saw the shooting, did they deserve that? Because everybody's affected. So the amount of bestiality, I think, or beast-like mentality here, primitive mentality, is still present, and it's just shocking. Shocking. Like, clearly the guy, he had a psychiatric diagnosis, and he was prescribed pills which he refused to take, and nobody pressured him. People let him walk free with all the stuff that he was writing online. Nobody was checking on him, nothing. Like, the authorities didn't monitor him. And it's still the victim's fault. Like, the amount of like beast-like mentality and primitive and inability to reason that some people have is just beyond me. And when I shared that post, aside from what some men reacted to and some women, obviously, one woman who's a psychologist, she's no longer living in Romania, but she's Romanian. She said, Liana, you know, when you speak here of sexual health and sexual growth, you're speaking science fiction to Romanians. And I answered to her, I said, yes, I know. I figured that one out in the first years after coming out with this work. That's why now I'm writing a fantasy novel, because most people just watch porn, or I don't know, they just watch random online videos. They hook up, they get somebody. They don't bother with sexual education, not even as adults, to take personal growth classes or sessions, you know, to really work on themselves. And they think, oh, I'm good. If I'm screwing somebody or if I'm having sex with somebody, it's okay, I'm good. What do I need to go to a coach or a therapist? Yeah. It's, for me, who I'm trying to bring a different perspective and trying to bring a really, really high mindset here, like grow on your intimacy, watch yourself, learn about yourself, learn how to navigate your challenges, you know, develop your soft skills. I have a very small reach in my country. This one's like, believe me, in that moment, this one was clearly not just about coaching and growth. This one's a psychiatric case, okay? So even worse than that. But the reactions that people had were also sexist, were also judgmental at the woman. Why did she have to? She had an itch when she was 14 and then she saw the consequences and so on. There's a lot of lack of understanding here, lack of interest to grow, really grow in intimacy. So this week I needed to distract myself with something. That's why I made that Jackson Wang video. And I also posted stuff on my Patreon about the pelvic floor health. You know, I'm still working and bringing stuff for growth, because I still believe that there are people out there who really care about the quality of their intimate life, and they're willing to invest time, money, energy, commitment into that also. Because it's not just about bam, 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 and that's it. It's about how you are intimate. It's about how you purge your emotions in it, what you take out of those. It's not just about physically inserting one body part into another, having an orgasm, hopefully the woman too, and that's it. There's more to it, okay? The erotic component is very, very important. But you can't have it if you're, you know, at such a primitive level of relating. I'll just watch porn, I'll just watch TV shows, I'll just watch free videos online and that's it. No. No, like you really need to take some time and understand yourself. So, yeah, it was fun to do the Jackson Wang thing. I really thank you, Jackson Wang, for putting out crazy stuff or really sensitive stuff, vulnerable stuff that you know, sometimes that stuff, when I try to wrap my brains around how I would fix that when somebody's that genuine and vulnerable, it also helps me to show up in a fun way for my work, because I can do that. At least I can do that. And take my mind off of the ugly stuff that is going on. So I want to also give a shout out to the people who are supporting me on Patreon. They're diminishing, sadly. I don't know why. I guess, I don't know. I'm not reaching new people now, and that's also sad. But for those who are still there, paying supporters, I still show up with stuff. Recently, the pelvic floor health series, super amazing stuff. And otherwise, I'm going to see you with other videos. For sure, they're going to be more optimistic.